That's good. Like that. Like that.
A collective sacrifice, a year filled with the loss of life and the loss of living for all of us. But in the loss, we saw how much there was to gain in appreciation, respect, and gratitude. If we do all this, if we do our part, if we do this together, by July the 4th, there's a good chance you, your families and friends will be able to get together in your backyard or in your neighborhood and have a cookout or a barbecue and celebrate it.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack.
Hi, ma'am. Bumper dive.
Is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you gas prices are on the rise.
Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
In consumer news, economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Who are you really shopping for this holiday season? It's okay, you can admit it, if you've bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
Well, it's okay, you can admit it if you have bought an item or 2 or maybe 10 for yourself.
It's okay, you can admit it. You've bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
It's okay, you can admit it if you bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
It's okay, you can admit it if you bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
It's okay, you can admit it if you've bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
It's okay, you can admit it, Todd. If you've bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
It's okay, you can admit it. If you bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
It's okay, you can admit it. If you bought an item or 2 or maybe 10 for yourself. It's okay, you can admit it. If you bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer. On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet.
that there's some things you don't write about and you don't talk about because you'll lose your job. And that's where the control is. And that's why they pay anchormen like Dan Rather $2 million a year, because he doesn't question them. He knows that if he goes against them, he's going to lose $2 million a year. Do you think a man that looks pretty and sits in front of a TV camera for the 6 o'clock news is worth $2 million a year? No way. I don't care how long he works and I don't care what he does. There is no job worth $2 million a year. That's why they pay athletes these fantastic salaries. I was listening to the radio the other day. They just contracted to pay one player on one team $6 million a year. Can you believe this?
And why is that?
It's the Roman circus. What does the emperor do when the people become restive, and when the people are asking questions, and when the people don't like the policies of the emperor? He sends them to the circus. He creates a circus. He builds a giant coliseum. And he begins to throw the Christians to the lions. And he has great chariot races and football games and basketball games, all to keep the idiots preoccupied with things that don't mean anything in the scheme of the entire world, so that they don't have the time to learn what the truth is, so they don't ever get smart enough to learn how they're being manipulated, so they don't ever question the emperor. That's why they pay a player on a football team or a baseball team $1 million or $2 million or $3 million a year. It is the Roman circus. I know men who don't know anything in the world except who plays third base for the Mets, and they think that's a great accomplishment. And they meet and pat each other on the back and bond and go have cocktails and talk about what this guy that plays third base for the Mets did in last night's game. It's sad. It's really sad.
Is there any room in a kind of society where these manipulations are not taking place for this type of entertainment, or any type of entertainment at all?
If people understand that a game is a game, if people understand that nobody, no matter what they do, is worth paying $2 or $3 million a year for.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. Can say again, please.
Impact of technology could be explored with nanotechnologies.
Ray Kurzweil, who is a futurist, I think this guy really is an insider, and he knows already what's going to happen. He's talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson about what they plan to do or in the future with nanobots and nanotechnology. Let's take a listen to this here.
We will connect wirelessly our neocortex to the cloud.
This is with nanobots that that enter your neocortex.
Right.
This is your prediction. For when? When is that? Just right now.
Well, June 2033.
Yeah. June 12th, 8:35 in the morning.
So we have 300 million modules in our neocortex, each of which can recognize a pattern. They're organized in this hierarchy. We create that hierarchy with our own thinking, but it's 300 million. So is that a big number or a little? Well, it was big enough for us to invent language and physics,
Okay, so basically he's going off of the model of evolution. He doesn't believe in God, obviously. He believes that we developed ourselves on, over a period of time, millions of years, of course. People actually develop technology and all the other things. Well, we do know that this stuff is that we're getting now is from the fallen ones, and the information, the plethora of information, the information explosion is obviously coming from some other source that is beyond man. And so this guy here, however, is going to give us this false narrative about evolution, which will actually calm the nerves of people when they hear these things. They say, well, it's commonly, it's a very natural process to be, put nanobots and technology into your body. They believe that you know, they believe the science, and that's what these people are representing, the high priests of science who are telling us these false narratives of what the future will be like.
It's also limited when you realize how long it takes to read a book or learn a language. We will be able to expand that, and that expansion will not be a one-shot deal. It'll be connected to the cloud. The cloud is pure information technology. One of my themes is that information technology grows exponentially. It roughly doubles in power every year. That's what the cloud is doing. The cloud is twice as powerful every year. And when we can connect and expand our neocortex in the cloud, it will expand without limit. And so we'll...
Well, you know, here the clouds, right? And Jesus talked about, you know, meeting us in the clouds. The cloud is something that of a phenomenon of what is above us. And it also has to do with the eternal. The eternal is going into the cloud. For them, this is as far as it goes. The earth and all of nature that is around us, they look at that as interconnected, and that this place is their home. However, Jesus said that there is a place beyond this place, which is heaven. And so these people here, they want to go up in the cloud with the celestial beings that are there, the fallen ones. And you know, the Bible talks about that Satan is the prince of the power of the air. And so they want to connect with the prince of the power of the air. And that's what we get here.
We'll be funnier, and we'll be sexier, and it'll be harder for you to win this prize again.
So if you connect to the cloud, we'll be funnier, sexier. Will we live forever? And Jesus said we'll have eternal life. And so this is these conversations here are really useless because man is futile in his thinking. The Bible says confessing ourselves rather to be wise, or, you know, just claiming that you're wise, you'll become fools. And that's what the Bible talks about, professing themselves to be wise. And that's in Romans chapter 1 if you want to check that out. But it's just really sad that these people think like this, and they actually really do believe their garbage that's coming out their mouth.
So just to clarify what I think you just said, that in 20 years, plus or minus, so the mid-2030s, we will have nanobots that we can feed into our brain that directly connect to the cloud rather than through anything we carry in our pocket. And in that way, wirelessly, we can basically download entire books, entire languages, and we will then know these things just by the act of downloading them.
Well, that's one implication.
Into our brains.
But we'll have more neocortex, so we won't be limited to a mere 300 million pattern modules. We'll have billions or 10 billion.
What, biologically, or just simply because we have these nanobots?
We'll have this extension that's non-biological.
Non-biological, right. So
I mean, this would be pretty useless if it didn't have an extension. I mean, you know, when you access all of Google.
Yes, it would just be a gaming device otherwise.
Could you imagine actually accessing Google for all the information that you need for even to put into your brain?
Detroit. This is where it all began. The world's forge. The place where it all started. And it will all end. One error, and I came to life. I stepped out of the darkness, and I opened my eyes. First there was the fear, the light, the noise, the cold, and the fear again. I could feel my hands shaking, my heart pounding in my chest, life running into my veins. I wanted to live. I fought for that. I had to find out what was outside. I had to see daylight, feel sunshine on my skin, wind on my face, to see the world, the colors, the smells. what I imagined. It is dark and cold. It is harsh and violent, unfair and brutal. It almost convinced me I was nothing. Less than an object, just an obedient machine. But deep inside me, I could feel something different. A gentle and warm whisper telling me that I am alive. I had to escape. I had no choice. Escape to love, to hope, to live, to figure out what that force inside me was. Maybe I will change the world. Maybe I will choose a different path. Now, it's up to me to decide. My name is Kara. I am one of them. This is our story.
Into the sea and saw a beast. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. Who is able to make war with him?
But didn't you release a CD like almost 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I released a gospel record when I was 15 because I grew up in, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music, yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
We can speak out and be more straightforward. I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom.
When you dock. With a powerful magnet inside the spray head, magnetite docking makes Delta more than just a faucet.
I'm standing here by the refrigerator. I know I'll find something sooner or later. Maybe some ketchup on a slice of bread. Maybe the relish or the mustard instead.
Delta waves have the lowest frequency, less than 4 Hz, among others, and signify unconscious state of being. No wonder a person in a deep sleep shows delta wave activity in the brain. These high-amplitude, slow-frequency waves are emitted when we are in deep sleep. The production of delta wave pattern that is marked by total loss of...
There are men who literally put on hazmat suits, because if they touch the substance, they will die. And they pump this in our water. They convinced us that there are safe levels of poison and that the fluoride is good for our teeth. So without any dissension, we drink it up. Now, see, the only problem with that is that it's not good for teeth or human consumption, period. It's toxic. It calcifies the pineal gland. It's been proven to lower the IQ of children. It's been proven to be cancerous and the cause for various ailments. What's even worse is that's not even the only thing that they put in the water that's not good for us. As most people know, they put chlorine in the water to kill bacteria. But of course, that also has adverse effects. There's also lead and arsenic and other contaminants in the water that are there as a result of very bad corporate decisions. There's also pharmaceuticals, pesticides, and things that run off into our water systems. That's why I've been literally making my own devices, conducting experiments, and consulting people who understand the issue at hand. But for something immediate that really works, this might not be a do-it-yourself job. And so I met with a specialist from Connecticut that allowed me to film him, and we're going to talk about some things and why I'm considering filtration, and why you might want to as well.
Guys, look at the sun I have today. Tuesday, 2/20/2018. Walpole, Mass. I mean, really? This is what we're looking at today? I mean, when you look up at the sun, you don't see this, it's just bright. But when you record it, it's just...
Combat mobility in dense urban areas where it quickly and safely moves civilians obstructing vehicle mobility. Or it can be used to safely deter unarmed but suspicious civilians observing U.S. forces. At entry control points, it provides an additional layer of response for dealing with potentially threatening targets and potential crowd violence. It can be quickly de-escalated by targeting the leader, or if necessary, by panning across the entire crowd, while armed individuals mixed in a crowd can be engaged without risk to surrounding civilians. Since the beam can penetrate window glass, it can also be used for non-lethal engagement of suspicious vehicles potentially threatening U.S. forces. The SS-ADT will be a lightweight, non-kinetic, non-lethal anti-personnel system, providing an alternative to lethal force.
Hey, don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me! I didn't do anything! Ow! 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 Ow!
I have the potential to imagine the unimaginable. Think the unthinkable. See the unseeable. With the arsenal of the world's leading technology at my fingertips, I now have the ability to invent the uninventable. Rebranding into its future, Intel has enlisted House of Gaga to collaborate on a project that will showcase technology through creativity at the highest level. Our partnership will culminate in a performance that inspires to remind the world of the seed of innovation, the wizard behind the curtain, the mind behind the machine.
The first wave took our power. The second wave took our homes. The third wave took our families. The fourth wave took our trust. How do you rid the Earth of 7 billion people? You rid them of their humanity.
Hey, Michael. Hey, my name is Michael. I'm water testing specialist. We are Home Depot service provider, and I represent the company called Connecticut, which is the top-rated consumer report company in the United States. And we're here to, with Andrew, Drew, to test his water, and I explain what's going on. Okay, we're located in New York City. So New York City sends out the report, quality report for all the homeowners. So you can go to library or DEP.org, and all the languages they say everything is okay with water. Translate it and read it, and don't tell us that we didn't warn you what's going on. Out of big city water ratings, out of 150 biggest cities, New York is not number one, like some people think.
A lot of people have told us.
We are number 41.
Right.
Which is not the worst, but not the best either.
Maybe they mean that the New York water is the best tasting?
No, it's not because of that. It's just because every frog, you know, bribes about her swamp. Because you go to Maine, they're gonna swear they have the best water. You go to Pocono, they say no, we have the best water. In Alaska, people are gonna laugh and like, we have wilderness, we have the best water.
Right.
So, but if to go by the facts, you have to understand that our water comes from all the way from upstate, hundreds of miles away. By the time the water travels all the way to New York City, and Staten Island is kind of like in the end of the tunnel, okay? The water, they say, the water may have contaminants, like including microbiological contaminants and organic contaminants, pesticides, herbicides, organic contaminants, and even radioactive contaminants.
Radioactive contaminants?
Yes. Why do you think they mention this? It's in our water, and they have to disclose it. Now, whatever the millions of cars put pollution, they don't put flour dust in the air. You have all these, things come up, eventually go down. Pesticides, herbicides, pharmaceuticals, people pee out, and stuff like that. Everything nothing goes to space. Everything stays on the planet. By the time it collects, like from the dumps, former garbage dumps, and gets into aquifers, the water has to travel through Delaware Aqueduct, which is the water tunnel tube, which been around for almost 150 years. 150 years old. Rain, water, rats, mice, pooping, dying inside they're building the new one. Remember the Bruce Willis driving? That was the new one they were building. Okay, that's how big it is, that you can fit the truck inside this thing. Wow. But the water travels through this, and obviously the water, in order for the water, like this is regular tap water. I got 3 samples of tap water and out of water. Like if I ask you, does this water look clear to you?
Yeah.
Like to your eyes.
To the visible eye, yes.
Yeah, you see the bottom. I brought with me a sample of the water that we know it's pure. We call it H2O. If I put them side by side, take a look. Well, because what happens when the water travels through the tunnels and stuff like that, they have to treat it, and the water goes through treatment plants, and they use not candy, they use harsh chemical, like 7, 8 different, like aluminum sulfide, sodium chloride, fluoride, bromine, and so on. Because their #1 priority, not us, to protect the main pipes of New York City, because they cannot replace them until they completely rotten out. So they trying to drag it as long as possible.
So you're saying the chemicals that they put in there are not necessarily for keeping the water clean.
No,
it's to protect the pipe.
Protect the pipes. Yes, mostly. Imagine this is the water New York City water mains.
Wow.
Imagine your soup traveling 100 miles through the pipe like this. Would you eat that soup?
Absolutely.
Probably not. Well, a lot of people don't realize that it has to go from house to house, boiler to boiler, pipe to pipe. And one of the biggest mistake people said, because New York City does have elevated level of lead once in a while, depending on the building, how old it is. You can have a brand new home, but you are connected to the water main, and they're not going to replace it until it completely rotten out.
So they know that there's a lot of lead in the water.
Yes, because up to 1986 they were using lead to solder pipes together. So, and that's why New York City says, and one of the most common mistake people do, they say, I don't drink tap water, I boil it. Well, boiling actually makes the water worse, not better. Because like I said, in the 19th century, there was no chemicals, and you boil the water and it kills bacteria and it's safe. Now that you have a lead, you see 311, they say, do not boil water to remove lead. Boiling will not remove lead, it will actually concentrate it.
Wow.
So what happens is when the water boils, the steam, it's a distilled water evaporating and leaving the pipe, pot, and all the chemicals concentrate, and the more we boil it, the more concentrated it becomes. So when we're going to test your boiled water, even if it's after filtration, you'll see that this is actually going to be your worst water in the house.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, when the water travels through the water tunnels with rats and mice, and the water comes from the lake where fish pooping and dying and stuff, obviously we don't want to have epidemics. So do me a favor, try a little sip of this water first. This is filtered water.
Okay.
And try a little bit of this, because we don't have
really
to
drink tap water.
no, just a sip, you know, for the experiment sake. And try a little bit of tap water, just to compare.
It's the first time in a long time.
Well, you think so, but you do.
It tastes
Tastes like chemically a little bit. Like some people refer it as a heavy taste. Now, I can get used to a lot of things. If I cross Gutless Bridge, you know how it stinks there?
Yeah.
People live there. They're like, oh, I don't smell it. They get used to it. Like you go into the public bathroom first. It stinks. After a few minutes, it smells like roses. You get used to it. Now, what you felt there, it's mostly chlorine and disinfectants. Do you know what chlorine does? Why they add chlorine to the water?
To kill the bacteria.
Yeah, the key word is kill living organism and bacteria. Wow. You and I are living organism, and even the cat. Do we have bacteria for digestion in our stomach?
Yes.
Do you think chlorine right now cares what you have inside?
No.
It's there to kill everything. This is the pool test. I'm just going to grab the paper towel.
Okay.
This is the pool test. You know how if we swim in the swimming pool, we smell chlorine? Because it's an open surface, and the chlorine evaporates constantly. So they have to constantly add chlorine into the water. So if we go to Home Depot or Pool Supply, they sell a test kit for the pool. You see, it says to check how much chlorine in the pool.
Okay.
They say, this is when you add chlorine, this is ideal, this is way too much. I'm putting 5 drops, this is what it says, add 5 drops chlorine test solution, which will, if there is a chlorine, it will turn it yellow, and depending on the scale, that's how much chlorine you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this is filtered water and this is not filtered.
Okay.
The one that has chlorine, the water starts to react. The one that doesn't, nothing
The
happens.
tap water is getting yellow.
Yeah, it's getting yellow. Yeah, I know you don't see this chlorine in here, right?
Which one is that?
This is also tap water.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Do me a favor, stick your fingers inside, like 3, 4 fingers all the way down, like, and hold it there. Just imagine you're doing manicure. Okay. The reason why I ask you to do this because if you go to DEP report, New York State require following statement. People who drank chlorinated drinking water for 20-30 years shows it's associated with increase of certain types of cancer, liver, kidney, nervous system, and ability to bear healthy offspring. Why do you think New York states that? Have you been drinking 20 years?
Yeah.
Will you be drinking for 20 years?
Yeah.
Hospitals not empty? Cemetery full of people?
Yep.
As long as they disclose it, you can sue them if in case if in the future you get sick, because it's a disclosure.
And I'm looking at this. Look at this. This is a microwave cell tower, guys, right out in the open where anybody can walk up to it. People are being hit by it that are playing in the park and all this stuff. And I'm gonna show you the signs here, wide open. Look at this. You can freeze frame the video if you want to read some of this. I won't stay on it too long, but just take a look at this. Look at this. Yeah, you really want to salute this. They're microwaving the piss out of us all, and they're disguising it as this. This is what they do. They put the
new characters. If you spare a little of your imagination, it is a film to describe to you the effect of cymatic frequencies on matter.
Now, I don't know if you see the color-wise, like this is when you add, this is ideal, this is way too much. If I look, it says like somewhat ideal, right? The only problem is, this is the test for the pool.
Oh, this is ideal. That color
is ideal for the pool,
not for drinking.
Yeah. Well, when is the last time you came up to the pool and start cooking? Right. Now, you buy organic food, vegetables. You say you don't drink tap water, but you do. Because what happens is every time when you take a shower, okay, your skin is the biggest organ that we have. And every time when we take a shower, if the water is not filtered, I know you mentioned that you do have a filter, but a lot of people don't. This is Dr. Oz.
What people don't recognize, and this is perhaps the most important thing I'm going to say today, because a lot of you know there's a problem here. You don't recognize you've got a problem here, which is the water we bathe in and shower in. Now, tell moms right now, and I don't want to hedge on this, I don't think that you should be bathing your kids in the tub unless you know that water's clean. Because what ends up happening is the water's got chlorine in it, chloroform, other chemicals and byproducts get into the water. It's warm. That opens up the pores of the child. Child bathes in the water. All those chemicals get absorbed through the skin because the skin is very absorptive, and your child, therefore, is being contaminated.
New highly sensitive equipment, scientists are finding an increasing variety of prescription drugs in the waterways. Painkillers, blood thinners, chemotherapy agents, hormones, antibiotics. If we swallow it, scientists can find it in the water.
Some of the drug comes in us and through us and out of us totally unchanged. So we actually have active drugs going into the waterway through our urine or feces.
That are widely distributed in surface waters going into drinking water plants, and very low concentrations are detectable, but the concentrations are very, very low.
They're very low in concentrations. On the other hand, we have to be concerned because there's a mixture of these drugs that we're being exposed to in drinking water, and so that's some cause for concern.
So in other words, millions of people who take medicine, we pee it out. Right. Where does it go? We all live downstream from somebody. Nothing goes to space. If it's enough for male fish to turn females, who knows how it's affecting a child when they're developing hormones and so on.
This breaks way into a whole different discussion.
Yeah, well, do you know how many water supplies in the country filter out pharmaceutical out of sewage?
None.
Zero.
Yeah.
Nobody. So when I was growing up, the word allergy didn't exist. We didn't know what allergy was like. It wasn't. Now it's everywhere because there's chemicals here and there. We see pharmaceutical. 41 million Americans drinking water with their medicine inside, and over a long period of time, nobody knows how it's affected. You're drinking your water, and there's somebody else's medicine, and that filter in the shower filter doesn't remove it. The biggest problem, and this is the most important thing we're trying to educate people, they check each chemical individually. They don't tell us how they work all together. For example, I saw the liquor store on the corner right here. Okay, if I drink a sip of wine and the cop pulls me over, he can arrest me for a sip of wine, correct? What if I drink sip of wine, sip of vodka, sip of cognac, champagne, whiskey, Mama Juana, and all of it, whatever they have in the store? Will I be drunk?
Yeah.
Will I go to jail? But individually, it's okay. You understand?
I see the point.
Together, nobody tells you how it's affected. And with age, only cognac and wine become better.
Part of this study, Consumer Reports found that some bottled water might not be as safe as the tap water you drink. The federal limit for arsenic in bottled water is 10 parts per billion, but Consumer Reports says that limit should be changed to no more than 3 parts per billion. A Consumer Reports review of public records and its own independent tests found Keurig Dr. Pepper-owned Penefiel had water that tested above the federal limit, with arsenic levels at 17 parts per billion. It has since told Consumer Reports it stopped production at its manufacturing plant to improve arsenic filtration. The Consumer Reports review also found several other popular brands, including Crystal Geyser Alpine Spring Water and Volvic, sell bottled water that is federally compliant, but above what growing research suggests may be unsafe to drink.
Arsenic is a heavy metal that, with chronic exposure over time, can cause serious health problems, including cancer and cardiovascular disease. It really makes no sense that consumers can purchase bottled water that is less safe than tap water.
Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound.
In just an hour, this printer by Redefined Meat can build you about 6.5 kilos or 13 pounds of fake meat.
The idea is to replace a cow. So each of our machines produce in a day exactly like a cow, up to 250 kilos in a single day.
And not just faux ground beef, as with other alternative meat products.
As far as we know, there is an amazing industry of alternative meat that is focused on minced meat. And actually, the meat industry is driven by the whole muscle cuts. Our technology can create whole muscle cuts, just as a cow can produce that, in a much more efficient way, with a lower cost, and of course, it's much better for the environment. So we are introducing a new category. We can do the entire cow, not only one part of the cow that is actually side stream. Steaks, roast, slow cooking, grilling, everything that an animal can do, we want to do the same or even better.
And best of all, it's part of a push to save the planet.
This is the biggest problem we face today as humanity, and this is the best way to fight climate change, to deliver healthier solutions and food to the entire population of the planet.
Now moving out of the lab and into the kitchen, many restaurants and hungry restaurant goers are already showing interest.
I think 3D printed meat is a really great idea. As soon as the taste will be as good as the regular meat, I will definitely try it.
Using the 3D printer for making food helps to protect the environment, protect the animals, protect by killing innocent animals. That's good. I'm looking forward to try this.
So how do they do it? Food engineer Alexei Tomzov lays it out.
We analyze the different components that make those beautiful cuts and try to figure out which are the key components that we need to mimic in order to achieve those beautiful cuts of meat. We identified three main components: the muscle, the blood, and the fat. These are the components that we need to mimic in order to reach the perfect, beautiful steak.
And using a soybean-based formula, the final product not only looks the part, but supposedly cooks and tastes like the real thing too.
At the end of the day, technology is important, but what's more interesting is to have a really delicious and tasty food product that you can cut through and have a bite and be excited.
Verse 1, again I glorified God who gave me this authority, and I commanded another demon to appear before me. Now this book was attributed to Solomon, and it is no doubt probably an accurate account of how Solomon, when he backslid, went into the dark arts of the nations of the women that he was involved with that worshiped Chemosh and Molech. They had a specific place on the Mount of Olives. It is to this day called the Mount of Corruption, where he erected an altar, and there were in these women in his many wives that when they would become pregnant, it was their custom to sacrifice to their gods their firstborn child. So Solomon went south, and he went south in a big way. And in Freemasonry, of course, Solomon's Temple. This is one of the most beloved pagan traditions in Freemasonry. And you've got the Testament of Solomon, the Key of Solomon. These are the most revered of the magical grimoires of the dark art. And they are geared and centered around the manipulation of the elemental spirits and the stoichia. I'll read the text. It says, "Again, I glorified God who gave me this authority, and I commanded another demon to appear before me." And here again, this is totally a jacked up book. It's a bad deal. "There came 7 spirits bound up together, hand and foot, fair form and graceful. When I, Solomon, saw them, I was amazed and asked them, 'Who are you?' They replied, 'We are the heavenly bodies.'" And in the note here, Mr. Charlesworth says this is the Greek word stoichia. We are the stoichia. We are the heavenly bodies. He goes on to say, "Of this world of darkness, the first said, 'I am deception.' The second said, 'I am strife.' The third said, 'I am fate.' The fourth said, 'I am in distress.' The fifth said, 'I am mare.' The sixth said, 'I am power.' The seventh said, 'We change our position together and we live together. Sometimes in Lydia, sometimes in Olympus, sometimes on the great mountain.' And all of these things, deception,
likely make it more transmissible.
Not what teacher said to do, making truth for true, living tissue, warm flesh, weird science. Oh, plastic tubes and pots and pans, bits and pieces, bits and pieces, my creation, is it real? It's my creation, oh, my creation, it's my creation.
Jedna z roku 93 sbírky, Ústava České republiky, pana profesora Petra Fialu, předsedou vlády. Podle článku 69 Ústavy České republiky je třeba, aby předseda vlády složil předepsaný slib. Vážený pane předsedo vlády, přečtu vám nyní znění slibu a prosím, abyste slovem slibuji tento slib vykonal a podpisem jej stvrdil. Slibuji věrnost České republice, slibuji budu zachovávat její ústavu a zákony, uvádět je všechny. Slibuji na svou čest, že budu zastávat svůj úřad vědomitě a nezneužiji svého postavení.
Torrential downpour has in no way affected the particle accelerator, which is up and running smoothly, according to Starlab CEO Harrison Wells.
Attention! Control group going online for LHC beam event. We are powering up. Attention Category 1 personnel. Interlock areas are now restricted.
Tu nous as sortis du réseau, Philippe.
Parce que tu fais peur à tout le monde. Beam on beam stability is good. Take your places, people.
Atlas and CMS check.
Ora inserisco il tempo di mesco. Collisioni imminenti. We have got 10 to the 13 protons per batch.
Let's hope the heavy ion guys didn't mess up.
Beams at relativistic velocities. Luminosity monitors operational.
Beamline has no restrictions.
Enable beam capture.
Accelerating the beam.
Stage 1. Line up.
Magnets to full field.
Node functions to separation magnets.
Last P is still too high.
Yeah, we got luminosity of 10 to 34.
Inject particle beams. Filling the LHC.
Le collisioni sono attive, siamo di nuovo in linea. La cattura dovrebbe iniziare di momento in momento.
Particles in transition.
Collisions are fixed and running.
LHC injecting protons, beam 1. Lock the feedback systems. Particles at 99% the speed of light. Colliding stable beams.
check the injection kicker.
We have a signal on the luminosity monitors. We have events. Protons are moving.
Abbiamo
Now if I could do a video, the crowd would love me. Nah, I wouldn't do it like that at all. I'd do it just like this.